So what's your jousting name in heraldry?
Oh, well, it is Dame Sarah the... I wish you'd given me some form of warning that this was going to happen.
This is gold. This is beautiful.
You
It's the most sincere reaction to this moment.
No, Dame Sarah the Indifferent, and
Von?
I couldn't care less, honestly. I think I would just...
That's the Heldrick slogan in Latin.
I would just keep trying to dodge the joust. I would just steer my horse and be like, ooh, close one. Almost hit me there.
Just ride all the way around the other jouster,
yeah,
and then just out of the stadium and away.
And
but you still come to every one.
French countryside.
Okay, medieval France, let's see what you've got for me. Dysentery.
Oh, no.
Oh, time traveling sucks.
Yeah.
Just bring a packed lunch.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. With your own Chili's water bottle. Although I do imagine you'd get burned as a witch for having a Chili's water bottle. It remains cold even days later.
Was there any good food consumption in this film? I don't think there was.
I don't recall
them.
Most of the food is for throwing.
Oh, you know what? There was the carcass of a chicken that I was like, yeah, that looks like it could have been nice.
That may appear to be of humble origins, but my personal historians have discovered that it is descended from an ancient royal line of white men in their 30s. Ooh. I'm Paul von Lichtenstein, and I have the pride, the privilege, nay the pleasure, of introducing you to a podcaster who can trace her lineage back beyond the McElroys, I bet. I first met her atop a mountain near Woolton, praying to God, asking their forgiveness for the Pokemon she had melted down into candies to feed to other Pokemon. It's candies, you do, right?
In Pokemon Go, yeah.
Then she amazed me further in Southport, when she saved a fatherless beauty, Gibbon doesn't have a dad, does he? From the would-be ravishing by his dreadful Australian girlfriend. She was very handsy that weekend, and you put a stop to it. I appreciate that. In Greece, fuck it. It's Sarah Keep!
Hello! What a wild introduction. The McElroys, who I do believe have been recording podcasts since 2010, and there's no
evidence of that.
Proof that I existed as a podcaster until 2022.
Oh, Jesus, that's terrifying. No, you appeared on the Thumptal Combat here.
You have very fond memories of that recording.
Look, some of us took that more seriously than they should have, and there's a reason it has never happened again. But, nevertheless, Sarah has challenged us to be eviscerated in fiction by reviewing every pimple and every character flaw in 2001's A Knight's Tale.
Someday, I'll be a knight.
Yes, William. If he believes enough, a man can do anything.
We could do this. In 1 month, we could be on our way to glory and riches none of us ever dreamed of.
You can't even joust.
I think he's getting worse. He is getting worse. I won't spend the rest of my life as nothing.
You have to be of noble birth to compete.
So we lie.
My lords, my ladies, I have the pride, the privilege, nay, the pleasure of introducing to you a knight, sired by knights.
William Thatcher didn't make the rules. He was born
I've waited my whole life for this moment.
to break them.
Yes! Thank you, I'll be here all week.
Well, that was different.
Which the Patreon audience may know why this came about.
Now, I've been trying to remember how this came about.
Because, as somewhat of a treat for you and I,
this
is
right.
arguably a good film.
Yes.
This is not a an exercise in self-hatred. We got to both sit down and watch this film for the first time and go, oh, pretty good.
I love that.
Because we've recorded a Cine 2 Nerdle battle for the Patreon, where we kept having to get out of Master and Commander Far Side of the World.
Yep.
And we kept going through Paul Bettany and A Knight's Tale, despite the fact neither of us had seen A Knight's Tale.
Yes. I feel like that would be a lot more useful now that I know it has so many people in it. Although I immediately think I'm going to put you to the artist, and I'm just going to wonder what you're going to do when you're in the artist.
You absolute scumbag. The dog. I'm sure the dog's been something else.
The dog has a pretty extensive acting stem, so we don't have to worry about that. I feel like, what's his name? The guy, Jean Dujardin. He showed up as a sleazy jewel dealer in Wolf of Wall Street. So I think that helps you quite a bit. I mean,
that gives you the Leonardo DiCaprio out.
It gives you the DiCaprio out. It gets you into the Jonah Hill territory, to the beach. And once you're in Jonah Hill territory, then I don't know anything about anything that man has done, so it's pretty easy to bamboozle
the world's your super bad.
Yeah.
The world's your this is the end.
Oh.
The world's your get him to the Greek. The world's your forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah, you see, I would struggle.
The world's your I know too many Jonah Hill films.
I would genuinely struggle with other people in most of those films. I think the first one you said has the kick-ass kid in it.
Yeah, no, yes. Christoph
Mintz. Exactly. Well, look, there's no more discussing strategy of behind Cine 2 Nerdle here. We've got other things we have to do. The film was written, A Knight's Tale, was written and directed by Brian Helgeland, most famous for having written L.A. Confidential, for which he received an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. But more importantly, he wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, by far the best one. Assassins, the one with Antonio Banderas. Conspiracy Theory, with an excellent Carter Burwell score, see below. The Postman, for which he won the Golden Raspberry for worst screenplay. He's been around. He's done the full gamut. And after A Knight's Tale, he would write Mystic River, Man on Fire, that Robin Hood movie with Russell Crowe, and then he wrote and directed Legend, starring Tom Hardy squared. That's quite the career.
Yeah.
You're a long way from LA Confident. You're a long way from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 by the time you get to Tom Hardy arguing of himself.
And that was the writer, not the director.
Oh, well, he directed that one. So he writes and directs some stuff. He wrote and directed this. Brian Helgeland did. But he has spent most of his career writing, except for directing this and Legend.
Yeah, because I looked up his directing stuff, and it was only like 6 films. I was like, well, that's crazy. But now that you've listed his huge amount of writing credits, I was like, it's beginning to make a lot more sense.
Uh-huh. Oh, he also wrote The Killer. Oh, not the Fassbender one. It's a remake of the John Woo film from last year, directed by John Woo, starring Natalie Emmanuel. What the fuck? Oh, it went straight to Peacock.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I mean, stuff going to streaming isn't always a red flag, because these streaming services are criminals that will butcher a film, let's say Dune, to turn a profit in some way, or to incentivize people to subscribe to their terrible service.
But Peacock.
The fact that neither of us have heard of this film until right now is not ideal.
Not ideal for a remake of one of the most popular cult movies of all time. It's okay. I'm going to look into that. Subsequent episode, The Killer. The film was shot in Czechia, or Czech Republic as it was at the time, where From Hell was actually being shot at the same time, and Heath Ledger and Heather Graham had themselves some sex. They apparently dated for a little while after meeting each other in the Czech Republic. That's hot. That's a hot situation.
Do you think Ian Holm got in on that?
He was very much. There were 3 people in this relationship. One of them was Ian Holm. Very good From Hell memory. I had a wonderful moment with the film historian, critic, and guy who has at one stage or another worked in every single job in film, Ian Christie. He was telling us about films shot in sort of old-timey London. And at one point he was like, well, they've recreated parts of sort of Victorian London for that very good film. What was it? It's From Hell by the Hughes brothers. And it's like, Ian... He's already infamous amongst some of the students for enjoying Lars von Trier's Antichrist, which, yeah. Like, I've been in several conversations where the young people I'm with are like, I can't believe he likes Antichrist. And I'm like, ha 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 ha. And I'm just, like, shoveling my Criterion edition under the bed. Here's a sentence from Francesca Carrington's Guardian retrospective review, which includes this little unattributed tidbit. Its leading lady, Shannon Sossaman, was scooped up into the cast from DJing Gwyneth Paltrow's birthday party.
That sentence was so wild that I couldn't process it.
Just, which member of the cast or crew? Was it Helgeland himself? Was it Gwyneth Paltrow's birthday party? And was like, I've been looking for a leading lady for The Knight's Tale, and that DJ? She's got it going on.
I mean, she's not terrible.
She's not terrible.
I didn't hate her.
No.
So he wasn't wrong.
It wasn't wrong.
She was able to lead a film.
She absolutely was. Was it a mistake to cast Berenice Bejo, one of the most gorgeous human beings who ever walked this planet, as her handmaiden, thereby all but guaranteeing I spent every single shot of the two of them staring directly at her? Maybe.
Well, I'll tell you why it was jarring to see these two. I was going to get into this later, but let's bring it up now.
Let's get into this now.
The absolutely wild hair choices.
Oh my god.
For Jocelyn.
Yes, the spiky 90s close like little thing. Like, oh my god.
I know there's a lot of anachronisms in this film, intentionally so, which I was fine with. But for just the hair choices kept getting to me in that I was like, how'd you crimp your hair, Jocelyn? How could you possibly have crimped your hair in this day and age?
It was very Romeo and Juliet, like Baz Luhrmann's one for me. Like it was, but that was set in modern times. Is the thing. Like, no, it was utterly bizarre. But meanwhile, Berenice Bejo's hair was just incredibly long.
Yeah, exactly, and that was
straight.
the contrast.
Yeah.
He had ever-changing, constantly wild haircuts from Jocelyn, and then the handmaiden's just like, yeah, traditional handmaiden. I look the same in every scene.
Yeah, it was fabulous. That's why she's a queen, or whatever it is. Critics felt that they had thonged until their insides are out and their outsides are in. Susan Velocicina over at USA Today said, "May please aficionado of oldie stations and extreme sports, but few others. Now, very few films to set out to match those two." That Venn diagram.
I don't know if I agree.
I like another one, Bit the Dust. Bit the Dust? Yeah, Bit the Dust. And American Football. Where is the movie? For me.
But I also like, there's some, again, great diegetic, anachronistic music choices in the film.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's pivotal to I don't feel like my enjoyment of the film was dependent on my enjoyment of Queen, for instance.
Look, we didn't see it in 2001 with the excellent sound system that would have really brought these songs into their own. And also made it very difficult to ignore if you weren't into these songs.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Retrospective reviews, on the other hand, have been as kind as a kindly Scottish blacksmith. I didn't write one for that. The aforementioned Carrington Guardian review notes, "Is it authentic? Probably not, but A Knight's Tale is a film so full of heart, it's the only thing that'll do when I need to watch something uncomplicatedly lovely."
Fair.
Yeah, it was a very positive review she wrote there. Public, on the other hand, missed Heath Ledger's breasts, don't we all? Rowan should have had a couple of goes at that. Rowan McClelland, I think, on Google said, "The greatest historical film ever. It was masterfully written and single-handedly catapulted jousting into popularity. I can't stress this enough. It is the greatest film of its genre. The fight scenes were fast-paced and exciting and very realistic, which can be hard to do."
I think I missed the jousting resurgence of 2001.
Look, in 2002, there was a lot of jousting.
Yeah, my school didn't have a jousting club, sadly, so I couldn't jump on the jousting resurgence. What the fuck is that guy talking about?
We couldn't afford the horses. We had to ride Tony around, charging at each other.
To be fair, a lot of kids at my school had BMXs. We could have rode our BMXs at each other while carrying a huge stick.
That sounds naughties as fuck.
Yeah.
I'd be so into that. Oh, God. Now, look, Stephen O'Donnell, who some true of heart will remember as Spud Gun from the Bottom legacy, like all the Bottom properties. He was in Spice World and Conan the Barbarian and shows up in this. Paul Bettany is a 3-man because of Mordecai and the Tourist. Rufus Sewell is a 4-man because of Gods of Egypt, Old and the Tourist. And that's it.
That's still staggering. Rufus Sewell surprises me because I think of him as like a actor.
Yeah, but he's done some stuff.
Some trash.
He's done some trash. I remember him briefly showing up in The Tourist. I think he's like, is he the real villain or something like that? Or he gets mistaken for being the real villain right at the end.
Because he has major villain face.
He does have villain face. I don't remember him at all in Gods of Egypt. And in Old, he was the funniest man who ever lived.
I don't know. That's a film with mid-sized sedan, and you're saying he's the funniest man in it?
I think he might be. There's a film with Robert De Niro, and I can't remember who the other one was that he was obsessing over. It was Robert De Niro and it wasn't Dustin Hoffman. Both. The dog's dead, but he was only just alive. So good.
Oh, free to a man, free in the bush, free, yo. Films are shit, mate.
A Knight's Tale has 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.0 on IMDb, and I was supposed to look at the budget, but I just didn't fucking bother.
And what would it matter? Because we'd have to do conversions for today. And
True. Although, hey, it made nearly twice its production budget back, so
wonderful.
Probably broke even. That's not huge, but it did okay. So Sarah, you embodiment of love. What's one thing about A Knight's Tale that made you want to knowingly endanger a member of the royal family?
I think the fact that one of our dear friends loves it a great deal.
Oh, yeah.
That was the main incentive.
Good
for us
old Gippy.
Who?
Little friend Gippy. I don't remember. Oh, it's Jen, isn't it? It's Jen!
I can't tell where the joke ends and the sincerity begins. Yes, it's our dear friend Jen.
My story.
And she speaks of this film favourably.
Yeah.
And so I was like, when it came up in a little tete-a-tete on Cine to Nerdle, it was like, well, let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. Let's see what this Jen chick knows about cinema. This is going to be an assessment of Jen, if nothing else. Okay, let's get into what happens in this here, A Knight's Tale. My viewing circumstances, incidentally, were watching it with Katie, a friend of the podcast, Katie Maiden. As a result, my notes are not as complete as they might otherwise have been.
Well, my notes are as sporadic and nonsensical as always, so let's see if we can mash them together like Voltron and make one coherent podcast.
But yeah, because we get text, right? It's in medieval times, there's a game that everyone's obsessed with. It's called Rollerball. And it's going to decide the fate of everyone. So having established that, we cut to the Joker, Robert Baratheon, and iRobot in a field. Where
now you went to iRobot.
I went to iRobot for Tudyk. Sunny.
I think I go for Wash from Firefly first. But if I had to do a film, I might go King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph.
Ah, I like that. I mean, the thing is, every time Alan Tudyk shows up in literally anything, Katie will turn to me and say, there's a guy on our team dressed like a pirate?
Oh, Dodgeball!
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot that as well. Fair enough.
He's had a hell of a
Alan
cinematic
Tudyk,
legacy.
Prolific.
He's a prolific man. But yeah.
He's there. He has wild hair.
Yes.
It's an unnatural colour of ginger. Even for this day and age, like even in a day of age of hair dye, no one has that coloured hair.
Absolutely no one. Wild hair and an accent to match.
Yes, and Heath Ledger has white boy dreads.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I'm glad they didn't stick around.
Yeah, thankfully they get cut pretty quickly into
Yep.
the film because sure is a bad look. The knight that these three work for has just shit himself to death.
He has shot himself inside out.
And later on in the film, there's a flashback in which I think we meet this knight, and he's
makes
really
sense.
nice and really charming.
Aww.
And
Then he shot himself to death.
yeah, then you cut back to this beginning where he's shit himself to death, and no one seems particularly bothered that he's dead. And you're like, huh,
Well,
huh.
look, maybe he was a very charismatic but deeply problematic figure. We can only hope.
Perhaps. Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? So yes, Heath Ledger decides that he's going to joust in his place because, you know, the fact that medieval armor covered your face allowed for all sorts of japes back in the day. George R. R. Martin based most of his career on that concept.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he goes to joust for him. There's a 10-second explanation of how jousting works, which Katie and I talk through. So Katie Googles the real-life rules of jousting, which I initially feel was quite naive, but it turned out to be pretty close.
He needs 3 points to beat you, so a broken lance won't win it for him. He has to knock you off the horse.
I know how to score, Roland.
Yeah, it's like points. You get points if you strike the person.
You have to break
Points.
your lance, I think. Break your
Yeah.
lance on their body, you get a point. Unhorse them, it's 3 points. Is it if you get them in the face, is it worth more?
I don't think so, because I
Okay.
don't think you wanted to hit anyone in the face.
Ah.
But if you knock him off horseback, that's like the mother load.
Yeah.
But what the fuck was I about to say? It's not important.
So-
oh yeah, no, they go through lances.
Oh, yeah.
Like what an unsustainable thing that these huge wooden sticks are just shattered every time. Infinite amounts of lances, it would seem,
Yeah.
required for jousting.
Yeah, look, the medieval times weren't that green. Got through an awful lot of trees that way. It's devastating. Rather satisfyingly, in order to make that effect look good, they had sort of balsa wood lances, but they also filled them with sort of more balsa wood and linguine, just so it would like look more smashy when it hit, which is
Yeah,
very good.
The splinters flying off were
Oh,
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, they were. It literally elicited a vocal reaction for me every single time it happened. Oh god, yes. So they win, I think. It doesn't look like it, but they do win.
Yeah, he gets a pretty shitty prize.
Yeah.
Was this the prize where it was like a
Little bag of money,
weird...
wasn't it?
No, because they then had to sell it to a merchant.
Ah,
I think it was like a weird crown thing.
Okay.
It was just like that. Seems like a lot of effort. Like
Yeah, but it's the low leagues at this stage
yeah,
because
true.
yeah, he gets that and then Ledger decides that actually he wants to keep jousting and sort of get more money. They all object to this. I think it's a little hard to tell what Tudyk is saying.
We're the sons of peasants. Glory and riches and stars are beyond our grasp, but a full stomach, that dream can come true.
But I get the vibe that he's not on board.
Yeah, they wanted to take the money. Tudyk was a man after my own heart here because he was all about food over
Yeah.
glory. He just wanted to go home to England and eat some food with his 5 silver, which, yeah, don't we all?
Don't. Sorry.
But they acquiesce under Heath Ledger's monologue.
Yeah.
I'll point out, I feel like Chris Hemsworth took a page out of
Now look,
Heath.
what he's doing
Yeah?
is the Australian man in an epic movie voice.
Yeah.
Besides, the sword. Name a man better with the sword than I.
In the practice ring.
You're not of noble birth.
Well, so we lie. How did the nobles become noble in the first place, huh? They took it at the tip of a sword. I'll do it with a lance.
And that is exactly Chris Hemsworth, and it is also Russell Crowe. It is every Australian doing a British voice. They put on this kind of voice.
Yeah, so there's big Chris Hemsworth vibes
Yeah.
from our young Heath, but hey, they decide they're going to go for it, and we have what I think is actually a very satisfying training montage.
It's a good training montage.
Like, it's not just like clips set to music. There's music, but like there's context to the clips. The talking is interesting. I liked it a great deal, especially the bit where Heath Ledger nearly drowns.
Look, we're all going to appreciate that. And yeah, so they feel ready. They've trained for a month. They've gradually gotten better. I do like the fact that throughout the montage, you see them making it harder and harder to do the thing without getting any success. Like, you just don't see him actually get any better. They're just like, all right, now do it on a boat, you prick. But they, gradually get better. And then, Paul Bettany, prolific actor and Johnny Depp's best friend, Paul Bettany, shows up with his tiny, tiny butt.
Yes, a lot of good shots of Paul Bettany's butt. And Paul Bettany is playing Geoffrey Chaucer.
Yes.
Which is a fucking wild choice.
Yes, especially since Geoffrey Chaucer was a famously amply butted man.
Everyone knew that Geoffrey Chaucer had an ass that just wouldn't quit.
You don't get that many people telling you stories unless you've got that ass. But, yeah. I won't stand for this big butt erasure. But in any case, he shows up. He's naked because he's gambled away his clothes. And he's going to fall in with the crew as their, I guess, publicist / hype man.
Yes. Which doesn't feel like a necessary use of money to begin with. But then you begin to learn.
Yeah.
Just, you can't get into these tournaments if you don't have...
Oh, yeah. I can't remember. It sounds a lot like another word, which occasionally I was looking for, but it's proof of your kind of
lineage.
Yeah, your lineage.
Yeah, that you are of noble blood and not a nasty, filthy little commoner.
Not a nasty little commoner.
But hey, Paul Bettany, he's good at forgery.
This is an aside, but you've just reminded me there. The other day, I feel like I was reminded of one of your character voices in a film, and I couldn't remember what it was. And I think I maybe mentioned this to you, but I couldn't remember what it was. It was that the voice that Jim Carrey is doing for Gerald Robotnik, the older version of Robotnik in Sonic 3, is very... oh, God, what was his name? The elephant from...
Clammy Slapper.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
It's a little bit.
I've not seen Sonic 3. That does surprise me a lot. The most jowly voice I ever came up with.
It's a jowly performance.
Wonderful stuff.
So they go to the next joust, where we're going to meet our love interest. It's Natalie Portman and her gorgeous maid, Berenice Bejo. It's confusing because one of those is actual and the other's not.
And he decides, once he sees her, to stalk her on horseback, which is the least subtle stalking I think you can do.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, he has a bit of a, I guess, meet cute, but again, one of them's on horseback in a church. But nevertheless, it seems to charm her a fair bit. So it's certainly a statement thing. It's peacocking, riding a horse into a church.
It doesn't hurt that Heath has gotten rid of his white boy dreads.
Oh, Jesus Christ, it most definitely does not hurt. Yeah, but there's trouble, because Spudgun has come to collect Paul Bettany, because he's in debt to Superhounds. It's not actually Superhounds. Oh, I see, it's the Summoner and the Pardoner that he owes money to. It's the Chaucer Expanded Universe.
Yes, now, I did do a bit of a deep dive on the Chaucer Wikipedia, and there's no mention of his gambling addiction.
No. Well, but here's the whole thing, is that he went missing for a few years. There's like a period of Chaucer's life where they don't know what he got up to, so obviously every movie ever has been like, oh yeah, this is what he got up to. He traveled to the future with Bill and Ted. This was the whole of his life.
Or he travelled around with Heath Ledger's little posse.
Yeah, exactly.
Winning jousts.
And then just getting back to the serious business of writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. Bettany owes them big, so they want a pound of flesh. Ooh, is little pre-existing Shakespeare listening in too? Just taking down notes so he can write it down in 300 years.
Is that the time frame?
That's the time frame.
I'm so... If it didn't happen before 1990...
It's all...
I don't know.
It's all within a week of each other.
Yeah.
My next note is just that Berenice Bejo is so fucking hot.
Okay,
I wrote that down.
I have a really unhelpful note. Bell or hell rhymes with Nell. There's a line that was said in the film, and I was just like, I'm going to bring that up because we have a dear friend called Nell.
We have a very dear Nell in our lives.
And so next time we see Nell, we should just say, Bell Hell rhymes with Nell.
She'll be like, oh, Knight's Tale.
If she does, incredible. I wouldn't put it past her, to be fair.
I think my next note after that that's not related to Bemin Aspasia in some way is that it's time for the first day of the tournament, and a little homunculi Cumberbatch comes in order to introduce everyone. It's not the guy with the cunty eagle.
Yeah, we'll get to
We'll
him.
get to him and what happens to his incredible eagle. Actually, we'll get to him now because he comes in and he's got with him our villain, Rufus Sewell from old. He's a rich bastard who studied at the Anakin Skywalker School of Seduction.
Why didn't Ulrich finish him?
He shows mercy.
Then he shows his weakness. That's all mercy is.
And inexplicably, for this whole scene, while he's trying to seduce Jocelyn, behind him stands a man holding an eagle that does nothing at any point in the scene or in the future of the film.
Except look heroically off into the distance, into the mid-distance, his feathers rippling in the wind, an American flag billowing behind him.
He's got a little hat he put on a bird of prey so it doesn't see anything.
So he doesn't see anything because if he sees literally anything, he's going to try and kill it.
And if it sees Jocelyn's hair at any point, it's going to mistake that for an animal.
For a little 90s vole. So it has to be covered up. Oh, God. He's so evil, though, is Rufus Sewell. His lance has a little fist on it.
Yes. Which, wink, wink. What can you use that lance for when not jousting?
Fist bumps. Long distance fist bumps if you're isolating.
Paul, I know you're a nasty boy. Let's not be around the bush.
So to speak.
Anyway, he enters a sword fighting competition.
Right.
As well as the joust, because they want to make as much money as possible.
Oh, yeah. And he's good at sword fighting.
Have, like, Star Wars A New Hope level sword fights. Like, quite stilted.
I kind of liked him.
Oh, no, it's good. It's realistic to what you would be doing if you were wearing that much armor and a sword. But it's just like bang, cling, clong.
I don't know if you're following Robin Swords, but it seems like everyone I speak to is following this guy on either Instagram or TikTok. But he's just a very well-turned-out American chap with a mustache who does fencing with medieval swords and is living the sword life. Several of his videos are about how he got his own sword custom-made, and he just talks so practically about it. It's like, I like to carry my sword with this style of arrangement so that when I sit, I can simply loosen it and turn it to the side and then sit down freely. And it's like, yeah, I should do that when I wear my sword.
I love hearing about people's algorithms, seeing sometimes there's an intersection.
Yep.
And then sometimes you go, oh, our algorithms are so wildly different, Paul.
It's where everyone I've spoken to so far has had this guy, and it's always baffled me. Him and the other guy who is a pole dancer / archery guy.
Okay,
you've got him.
Fair, I have seen the pole dancing archery man, but I haven't seen your sword man.
I will send you my sword man. But just so you know, my next note is about the letter scene. So
okay, I'll try and carry some weight for you, Paul, because I think that's a huge skip ahead.
You don't want to just go straight to that?
He wins the sword fight.
Yes.
And then enters the joust. And he gets...
second place?
Yes. But he beats a man that wants to bow out because he's hurt.
Yes.
And that will be incredibly relevant later.
Yeah.
But it shows that Heath is a very honourable man.
Yep.
That the man says, I'm hurt, but I don't want to...
pull out.
Withdraw. So they both call They
force a draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, to which Rufus Sewell hilariously observes to the woman he's trying to seduce, "Mercy's for the weak."
Ooh, what a turn on.
Now, let me tell you my thoughts on fascism. I think you'll find they're very surprising. Oh.
But he gets second. Of course, Rufus Sewell gets first because he's a real shit digger. But he's spurned on both by his infatuation with Jocelyn and his desire to beat Rufus Sewell.
Yeah.
So he decides that even though he's not, like, he's undefeated in the swords, he's never doing swords again.
Yeah.
He's only doing jousting so he can better Sewell and be a man worthy of Jocelyn, which, you know, it's some dumb energy.
It is. It's to better Sewell, and it's also the jousting has a higher prize and just generally a higher prestige, you get the impression. Even though, to me, the sword fighting's cooler. Like, fighting someone on foot with a sword is cooler, but to be fair, they do have the exploding linguini lances, which does make it pretty badass.
Yes, and I will say also, during his joust with Sewell, he gets hit so hard he has a flashback.
Yeah.
And we see his dear old dad, and they were looking at some knights, and they were like, I want to be a knight when I grow up, Dad. And the dad's like, you can be. You can change the stars. And a man that's in stocks for some crime, let's say sex offences, goes, you're an idiot.
Let's say sex offences. It was medieval times. This is the sort of world we're living in. Yeah, does that, and then...
Well, we're introduced to perhaps my favourite character at this point. Kate, the lady blacksmith, who, love a lady blacksmith.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, yeah, and she's the best.
Excuse me.
Don't work for free.
And I can't joust with broken armor.
Your problem, not mine. Each drop of this sweat has a price on it.
Well, just as well. They told me I was daft for even asking.
Who?
Oh, the other armorers.
Did they say I couldn't do it because I'm a woman?
No, they said you were great with horseshoes, but shite with armor. The fact that you're a woman wasn't even mentioned.
She's not just a lady blacksmith, she's got an awful lot going on, including, apparently in a post-credit sequence I didn't see, the ability to best the others at a farting contest.
Yep, that happened. There's not much more to say about that. I was deeply surprised to see a post-credit scene in this pre-MCU world, and also deeply surprised that that's what the scene was.
Yeah, love that.
But they weaponized sexism against her.
Yes, that's
by
right.
Being like, the men said you couldn't do blacksmithing, and she's like, I fucking can, mate.
They did throw in a line where it's like, no, nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman. They just say you're really shit at armor.
And she's so she helps them, and then wants to join them, but they're like, no, we can't have a woman in our group. Yeah. We're a bunch of lads.
Yeah, cut to seemingly to me not very much different having happened, and she's just with them.
Well,
is there a pivotal moment?
The thing that wins them over is when they have to prepare for a feast. And he doesn't know how to dance, Paul.
No, that's it. He has to prepare because she invites him to. No, that's it. She sends. This is the flirtiest thing I've ever seen. She sends her handmaiden, gorgeous Beverly Spacer, to find out what he's going to be wearing, so that she can match dress accordingly. Like, that's very saucy. It's like, we don't know each other very well, but I want to make sure we look good when we dance.
Yeah, that is hot. That is hot. So
I like that.
He makes an outfit out of the tent they were using, and Kate teaches them how to dance in a very nice scene in the stables.
That was my... Sorry, everyone. My microphone slid off of my copy of Jurassic Park on Sega Mega Drive. I'm sure you can all relate.
Some might say that's not the ideal microphone
some might
holder,
say, but who the fuck are they?
They'd be wrong. They go to dinner. He quotes the Bible at her, which would be a real boner killer for me.
Yeah.
But she's into it.
Love that.
Cook Knight, Rufus Sewell, because I didn't know his actor name, so I referred to him as Cook Knight in my notes.
I mean,
because he gets cooked pretty hard.
Yeah,
he does. He's a real hater, and he doesn't enjoy. And so he sets off with the Knight and the rest of the gang. Not the Knight, I meant to say Lady Blacksmith.
Lady Blacksmith.
To win more tournaments and be more worthy.
Yeah.
And it's like, nice, let's go.
Yeah. So off they go. They go to France in order to do a sort of grand tour of these various things, beating various horrible Frenchmen as they go. Yeah, and then I think we actually get to the letter scene.
Yes, for some reason, he picks a fight with Jocelyn. I couldn't tell. It seemed like at this point the writer was like, okay, we need some conflict. They can't just fall in love and be happy.
Yeah.
So he's a real dickhead to her for no reason whatsoever.
I've come to see what you'll wear to banquet tonight.
Nothing.
Well, then we'll cause a sensation for all dressed to match.
Well, don't you ever get tired of putting on clothes?
I believe she's talking about taking them off, my lord.
A flower is only as good as its petals, don't you think?
A flower is good for nothing.
Really?
Well, you can't eat a flower. A flower doesn't keep you warm.
And a rose never knocked a man off a horse either, did it?
You're just a silly girl, aren't you?
Better a silly girl with a flower than a silly boy with a horse and a stick.
I think he jousts with the would-be king.
Yes, that's right. He's told that Rufus pulls out because he hasn't got to war yet because he pulls out of a fight.
Yeah. Because you can't fight a would-be king.
You can't fight
it's improper.
a would-be king. There's a rumor around that this is a would-be king, so they all pull out. But Heath Ledger bloody does it anyway because he's Australian and doesn't understand the rules of all of this. And so...
Is Heath Ledger? I thought Heath Ledger was American.
Pretty sure that Heath Ledger is an Australian man. But I'm going to... Yeah. That's why he has the 4 voice.
Wow. I didn't... Wow.
Yeah.
What a world.
What a tiny world. He was born in Perth. So... Yes, so he charges it anyway. And the bloody king... Oh, God, bloody royalty. He actually respects it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to be hurt.
Yeah. He's
Which,
big
gotta respect it.
You gotta
the
respect
dad
that.
from Sex Education. He's a would-be king, it turns out.
Yeah. I need to watch... immediately after that, Katie was like, I need to watch all of this man's television because he's incredibly hot. And it's like, sure. I could watch Rome. I've never seen Rome.
Oh, he's in Rome?
He's in Rome. He plays Mark Antony in Rome.
He was in a weird Kevin Bacon show, I think, called The Following.
Oh, yes. I know about The Following. Or AKA The Kevin Bacon Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he pulls out of that, and he's just generally very pissy every time he doesn't get to fight this guy because he was mean to him once. He has trouble letting go of that.
And so he has a little fight with Jocelyn for
Yeah.
no reason. And then immediately we cut to the letter scene where he wants to make up with Jocelyn. It's just like, okay, sure.
They do a group Bergerac, but he's just a jock, unfortunately. So the very next scene, when he is asked to repeat some of the poetry, he's really not able to do so and just goes straight in on the boobs.
I demand poetry. And when I want it, and I want it now.
Your breast. They're below your throat.
And they have this confrontation in a church.
Yeah.
And you gotta love causing a scene in a church.
Look, this is a
it's
man...
It's very dramatic and very...
This is a man happy to ride a horse wherever he goes. The horse actually is just out of frame. He wrote it in again.
But a priest comes up to be like, hey, this is a church. Can you turn it down? And Jocelyn's like, no, fuck off. Get the fuck away from me, priest.
None of you know what I'm going through. And a woman grieving the loss of all of her family to the Black Death is like, yeah, leave her alone. She's clearly got stuff going on.
But at this point, I felt like the relationship was quite toxic. I'm honestly not rooting for Heath and her to get together because there's not. I've not felt too many sparks, and she decides.
Not feminist Beja around.
She decides that he needs to lose the next match to prove that he loves her.
To prove that love is more important to him than winning. Yeah. So
which he does.
He does too. His absolute
he takes
credit.
A real pounding.
He does. He most certainly does. Right in the face, several times over. You'd think a couple of rounds would have really done it, but no.
Yeah, well, at this point, I get the impression that maybe Jocelyn has a punishment kink.
Yeah, she likes to sort of see him get hurt and know that it's for her. Look, this could all be worked out in the sequel, but for now, she sends Beverly Spaciow to be like, okay, now we want you to win. Well, that's a lot fucking harder now, but okay, I will do that then. So, yeah, he wins that tournament. And I think this is when then he's now invited to the big one.
Yes.
Back in London. Oh.
But first, they have a little bedtime. They have a little
That's
time
right.
together.
She sneaks
where
in.
Chaucer watches her go into his tent and says, "Bed him well." With just the biggest ick. What horrible.
This is how he had the idea to put some sex into the Canterbury Tales. He wouldn't have thought of that otherwise. All of this is an origin story for that wonderful collection of stories. Yes, they go back to England, and I miss the fact that there's a mid-boat transition into the past and get very confused.
Where's this child come from?
I was like, oh, that's cute that they're focusing on this guy with his child that's also on the boat, but why are we following him for so long?
It's little Heath.
It's little Heath, you
He was in
fucking
the
idiot.
scene earlier. He was in the punched flashback. But this is where we meet the knight who presumably was dead at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's quite nice, apart from the fact that he wants to see Heath's teeth.
He wants to see Heath's teeth. And
show me your teeth, boy. Why? Why does that matter?
It probably was a plague thing. I just need to make sure you're not literally dying before I introduce you to my many other sons, all of whom will be devastated if I were to shit myself to death one day.
But there is quite a touching goodbye scene between little Heath and Heath's dad.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
We learn that Heath hasn't been back to England for 12 years.
Well, he's here now, and he gets back to England and
now.
gets to London, where we see the rather grandiose staging area for the joust. And then does anything happen before that night when he goes out looking for his old dad?
There's a bit of fighting. Like the preliminary jousting, the first person that Heath takes down had a helmet that was very reminiscent of Lord Buckethead from UK Politics.
From UK Politics, my favourite show.
But yes, he goes out in the rain to look for where he used to live, and he sees a little girl with the most horrifying hobby horse in the world.
God bless her.
But she wants to be a knight, and he's like, good on you.
Yeah.
I think you can. And then he spills his biggest secret.
Yeah, just this little girl.
Like,
and I like to think
what are you doing?
I like to think she immediately went and grassed him up.
I don't, because I think she was solid. I don't think she would snitch.
She was a good little
But
girl.
it's still, I wouldn't tell a secret to a child because children are notoriously stupid.
Just really fucking dumb. You can't trust any of them.
No, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
They're little sociopaths.
Yeah.
But all the same, he's like, "Oh, I'm not really of noble blood, so you can be a knight if you want to be." Which I respect it. I respect him wanting to bolster this girl's confidence.
Absolutely.
It's a real Ryan Johnson, anyone can be a Jedi moment.
And we all love that. Everybody famously loves that.
But in return, she reveals that his father is not dead.
Father?
He's just blind.
He's just a blind man. Yeah, and he still works as a thatcher. Yeah, so...
Sewing a net.
Sewing nets for fishermen.
And so they meet up and they crack a whole chicken by the fire.
Fuck yeah.
The only food I remember from this film that I would risk dysentery for. And they have a very touching reunion.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
I loved it.
They reconnect. Then he's like, there's a hole in the roof. Would you mind going up and fixing it? Yeah, all right. And he goes out there. And Rufus Sewell is hanging around outside. Notices him do this. And it's all the evidence he needs to... Not even having arrested the father, which I was very genuinely afraid was going to happen, but it didn't. That's all the evidence he needs to get him declared an imposter and a traitor. And to get him put in the stocks.
But... They tell him to run away.
Yeah, but he won't.
Everyone's like, run away, Will.
Take it away, Will. But he won't.
he won't. Which at the time I was like, you're being stupid.
Yeah.
You're being an idiot because the woman you love is like, I'll run away with you. All your friends are like, will run away with you.
Yeah.
I would have run away with my friends and my lady.
I would have run away with Heath Ledger. And I think he's a damn fool for having not done that.
But pride and whatnot, he lets himself get arrested and put in the stocks where a little child, there's a previous scene where this little child was watching Heath ride into town and Heath gave him a little thumbs up and the child was like, yeah. And now that Heath's in the stocks, this little child runs up and slaps Heath Ledger.
Hits him with a stick.
You little piece of shit.
You little piece of shit, man.
I hope you get dysentery and die.
Don't worry, he likely will. He represents the fickleness of the medieval crowd. Yeah. So, goddamn him for that.
All of Heath's friends stand by him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of the crowd...
Who's this?
It's the would-be king.
The would-be king!
The dad from Sex Education. He's here. And he lies about Heath having noble blood.
It's okay.
And everyone's fine with it.
It's okay when it's for a good cause.
Yeah, when it's a would-be king telling you it, you go, if I question it, I'll probably be murdered.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a knight.
Look, let's not reflect on the fact that if this just happened to be a king who didn't care or was a bad king, he could do whatever the fuck he wanted and get our main characters murdered in an instant. That's fine. This is a good king, as all kings are.
It's the only good thing a royal has ever done.
And to be clear, it's because the dude he played at American football did him a solid once. Please, sir, we're still dying in poverty. None of you have got the chops to face me on the field.
Paul, isn't that just how the world works?
Isn't it?
You get advantages in life just from having met someone once.
Look, all those jocks that you convinced yourself you were better than because you knew how to do trigonometry, they're literally dining with kings right now. Anyway.
So he gets to go fight the Cook Knight
Hey!
last. The Cook Knight is really not happy about this. No. So you know what he does?
Is it to do with the little fist?
Yeah, he puts a spike behind his little fist so it's no longer suitable
for sex play.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Because that would have devastating consequences.
Don't do it, folks. Not even once. So, yeah, he pierces him in the chest. In a pretty upsetting looking sort of situation where he's got just a whole tree sticking out of his chest. He pulls it out. He fights. He has the lance lashed to his arm. His true love shows up with his dad.
Yes.
In order to call him on from the what do you call it? What's not the stage?
Stand?
The stands. Yes, from the stands. He charges. He yells, "Adrian!" And then he hits his opponent. His opponent has a bizarre dream sequence whilst falling off a horse.
And, like, suspended in midair for the dream sequence.
They did that in Gladiator. I think they were going for Gladiator. But it's also very Guy Ritchie.
Very out of place, I would say. They quote a line back at him that he said earlier in the film.
From the biblical feast of Belshazzar or something like that. There was some king was having a big feast and God wrote words on the wall, and I think it was John or someone like that Daniel. Yes, that's right, because the very next story is the lion, and it's like, okay, you're just going to get through this to get to the good one. Do the lion! But, yeah, Daniel came and was like, oh, it says that your days are numbered, you have been measured and found wanting, repent. And he doesn't repent and he dies.
Well, as previously established, Bible quotes are a boner killer for me. So.
That's fair. That's fair. No one's going to fuck Rufus Sewell after this. Even though, frankly, I'm still kind of into him.
He's still a little bit hot.
Still kind of
hot.
I'll
tell you what, the biggest heel turn that I enjoyed here was...
Yeah.
Hawkboy gives a coy little clap. Hawkboy sees that Heath Ledger's won, looks around, and then gives a little clap. And he's like, good for you, Hawkboy.
Where's your hawk gone, though? He hasn't been in a movie for a while.
You definitely should have had your hawk in this scene.
This scene of none other. You should have given the hawk a high five. And they both understood that Heath Ledger was the best.
But Jocelyn and Heath have a passionate,
it's a real,
maybe over the top
kiss.
it's and the film ends.
The film ends. He's got a tiny wound and probably dies of an infection a few months later. But for now, at least, he can end the movie in a good place. And that's it. That was A Knight's Tale.
Good film.
Really good film. I really had a lot of fun. I was very swept up. It is a sports movie. It has very clear stakes. It has a good guy. It has a little underdog team. You know, it is essentially dodgeball. And with
even down to the two-dick.
Even down to the two-dick. And the villain is only a little less cartoonish than Ben Stiller. But it has a villain who's fun to hate, a very straightforward rags to riches, you know, working against the system style narrative, and the actual jousting was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I think it holds up very well. Yeah.
Same.
It's not a huge amount to say about it, really. It's just a very effective movie of its type.
Yeah, if you've not watched it and you just listen to us sum it up,
yeah,
that was a mistake on your part. we didn't do as good a job as just watching that great film.
No, just really watch it, because it's just one of those movies where every aspect of it is working well. Like every performance is exactly what it needs to be. Except Beverly Spatial, that was a lot. That was a lot more than it needed to be. But hey, nobody knew. And then just. The plot is very effective. It's very well paced, I think. There's no real slack on the whole thing. It's 2 hours long, but it doesn't feel it. It moves along at a pace.
No, I was surprised. When I saw 2 hours, I did go, oh no. But it flies by.
It flies by. And there's a lot of effective moments, such as these. I mean, quick fire. Quick fire. We just go straight in, right?
Yeah. My first one. The idea that the Queen song during the first opening section was diegetic.
Yeah, because they all start.
And the crowd were like doing the drums, and the heralders were doing the trumpets. I was like, perfect. No notes.
Yeah, honestly, like that side of things, because the whole anachronistic historical thing is obviously tricky. Like, how much do you lean in? You know, will it feel inconsistent? But honestly, I never questioned it, largely because it mostly happens in the sports movie moments. Except for Jocelyn's hair. More of which soon.
Which, as previously established, I found so distracting.
It just works. It works in terms of, like, getting swept up in the fever of the whole thing. My first one is that when Heath Ledger has won his bout, only just, he then stands before the guy awarding the prizes, and he's just got a squashed helmet that's now just got this massive dent in it, and it just looked very funny. He looked like Crichton.
I thought that just hearing the name Jeff in a medieval setting,
it
didn't sound right, but I loved it. It's like, oh, come on, Jeff.
Love that. Now look, I love myself some Mark Addy. He's perhaps the least obvious of the companions, but Mark Addy, who was Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones, but also was in The Thin Blue Line, he was in The Full Monty, he's been in all sorts. And he was just first of all, he was using an actual Northern English accent, which was nice to have just an actual person from England.
He's dead.
What do you mean dead?
The spark of his life is smothered in shite. His spirit is gone, but his stench remains. Does that answer your question?
Oh, he's just such a warm and, like, nice guy. He does most of the... Is he the one who turns the tent into a fine gown for him? Having described it from the background.
Does sewing. Which,
love that.
Lovely sort of, that he's this big gruff man, but he can sew.
I love that.
And it's not, like, commented on, like, oh, you can sew. It's just like, yeah, he can.
Yeah, I'd have loved more from him. But yeah, I like him.
Yeah. When Heath enters the church on horseback, he is ushered out by some chanting priests. They chant as they corral the horse out of the church, and it's just like, whoa, that's weird.
It's
what a weird thing to do.
It's a biblical horse scaring song that they know. that they use as a charm whenever there is a horse somewhere they don't want a horse to be. Now, I liked quite a lot of the sword stuff, but in particular when when he's training, I think, at the beginning, it'll cut between him really struggling with the lance and then just doing some very good sword practice with the others, and I enjoyed that.
I only have 8 of these, so I'm going to go probably quicker than you.
I'll start doubling up.
Paul Bettany says, "Oh my giddy aunt." That's good.
Love that.
Yep.
I have a Paul Bettany one, which is when he's talking his way into the group, he just says something like,
"Listen, Clothe me, shoe me, for God's sake, feed me. Let me ride that horse a bit and you'll have your patents.
It was to let me ride that horse a bit.
Just a bit.
Because it sounds like he's not even that tired. He's just, I want to ride a horse.
I've never rode a horse.
Never rode a horse. Let me ride it a bit. I'll come with you.
Let me ride that horse a bit. Come on.
Give us a go, mate.
On one of the scenes where people are entering a competition area, there is a really brief glimpse of a painting on someone's shield, and it's the most scrungly elephant I've ever seen. It looks like a Don fan from Pokemon, but yet somehow even more squat. It was like, and it's so briefly on screen, but I was immediately like, show me more of that elephant, please. It was weird.
That's wonderful. Okay, Rufus Sewell does a very good burn against Heath Ledger.
And you are?
Well, I am,
You've forgotten? Or your name is,
Ulrich von Liechtenstein from Gelderland.
Oh, I'd forget as well. What a mouthful.
Pretty good
burn, Rufus
Pretty
Sewell.
solid burn.
He's like, all he could do is just walk away like a little bitch. Like a little puddle of bitch. Because Rufus Sewell fucking nailed his ass.
Do you want to start doubling up? Because
Oh, sure.
left.
Generally speaking, I enjoyed Paul Bettany's speech. Yeah, I think it's the first speech that he does, I think, because I quite enjoyed the introduction one that I did a little pastiche of earlier.
Yeah, well, he addresses the audience, which immediately wins the audience over.
Yeah.
He's like, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of the crowd that aren't sat on cushions.
Oh, fuck yeah. Take that, aristocracy. Oh yeah, just a hairpiece. I was obsessed with the hairpiece. Like, the very spiky one she wears to the first dance was the most 90s girl band thing I've ever seen in my life. And you're right, it's incredibly anachronistic, but there was just something absolutely extraordinary and fascinating about it.
She starts off with two hats.
Yes.
And so at first, you don't realise how distracting her hair's going to be.
Or how much hair she
like,
has, for one thing, because she wears like a very close like nun cap thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then like a ladies' day out at the races kind of hat for the first joust.
Yeah.
But then from then on, it's all hair all the time.
It's all hair
curled,
all the time.
crimped, spiked up.
Love it. I really liked the dance scene, which is reminiscent of a sequence from Wicked, actually, in which...
Yes! Yeah, Cook Knight tries to make a fool of Heath by being like, oh, show us a dance from your kingdom. But then they have a lovely dance where Jocelyn helps him.
He improvises some shit, and everyone's not sure about it, but then Jocelyn joins him and starts matching the moves, and it turns into this very... kind of silly, kind of funny, but also really sweet and kind of beautiful mass dance where they're all doing this strange kind of jerky move that he does, and it's really good.
And who can say who stole what from whom, because I don't know when the musical Wicked
I said the same
came
thing. Maybe the writers of Wicked went and saw A Knight's Tale.
Or maybe the writers of A Knight's Tale went and saw Wicked on Broadway. I'm not going to Google it.
Nobody Google it. Come on, just live with that sense of wonder. Speaking of a sense of wonder, one here from Katie is that she wanted me to remark upon the incredibly chesty dress that Jocelyn wears in one scene, which kind of functioned as a jump scare of just boobs. Ah!
Fair enough. I'll throw a quick one in because I didn't put it down as a thing, but I do remember it. There's just a big dog.
There's a big dog!
This is a really big dog. And again, I found it distracting because of just how big the dog was. It was, I would say, above the waist of the man that was walking next to the dog. And it was on screen for about 4 seconds. And I was like, what a weirdly tall dog to have on screen for 4 seconds, because it just immediately made me go, big dog.
Big dog energy.
Big dog.
You know, medieval scenes of cities never have enough cats in it. I literally watched a documentary yesterday that was filmed in the 1930s in London. And there were just cats everywhere, because even at that stage, just rats and mice need to die. And so literally everyone had a cat, and everyone loved the cats. I really like the letter scene. I love it when they're all reminiscing on... I think the Guardian review said something like when they all offer the pieces of their broken heart in order to, put together a letter for Jocelyn, and it was just really beautiful, them all reflecting on stuff that's happened to them, and really sweet thing, and putting forward a little bit each. Like, I really liked it.
I have seen sunsets and sunrises, but nothing of your beautiful face.
It's very good, William.
I used to know this girl once who... Well, she broke my heart, but I used to say that the
pieces of
were
my
so
broken
small.
heart are so small that they could be passed through the eye of a needle. He writes as though I had died.
Yes, madam. He dies as well.
She used to cook for the Duke of York.
I miss her like the sun misses the flower.
I miss you like the sun misses the flower. Like the sun misses the flower in the depths of winter. Instead of beauty to direct its light to, the heart hardens like the frozen world your absence has banished me to.
The next compete in the city of Paris. I will find it empty and in the winter if you are not there.
I like it. And now to finish it.
With hope. Love should end with hope. My husband, God rest him, told me something I'll never forget. Hope guides me.
It is what gets me through the day and especially the night. The hope that after you're gone from my sight, it will not be the last time I look upon you.
Yeah, Kate had a nice one because of her sadly departed husband.
Oh. Where's her film? Where's her spin-off film about how she invents Reebok? Or that Nike? It's Nike, isn't it? She does the ticks in the armor.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was so confused.
It's fair. It's more than fair.
My next one jumps ahead a bit, but the reunion between Will and his father was so genuinely touching.
Really sweet.
Considering they'd only had 2 flashbacks to establish them previously, the actual reunion was so well acted by the dad as someone that hadn't seen his son in 12 years and didn't know if his son was still alive. And when Will comes in and he's like,
I have word, Master Thatcher. Word of your son.
Of my William. Come in, sir. What word? Does he live?
Aye, he lives. He is very well. He wanted you to know that he changed his stars after all.
And has he followed his feet? Has he found his way home at last?
Yes.
Father. Oh, William. Oh, my boy.
and it's just like, oh my god.
And as they slowly suspect that is actually him, it's just, it's really beautiful. Love that. I really like the staging of the fight they have in the cathedral where she challenges him to lose the next fight.
Yes.
Like, just all long shot, pan from left to right, moving through. It felt very medieval, very sort of, what do you call it, tableau vivant, in a way that I really enjoyed.
That was excellent.
Also, later on, when she sneaks into his tent, I enjoy how saucy the kiss was. I feel like you don't get... Jurassic Park is really letting me down today. Hold on.
I thought you'd just done a little burp.
No, it was just a little Jurassic Park mishap. I don't know. I don't know if you get kisses that saucy in family entertainment these days. But it was a proper sort of... How do you describe it? Like a bitey kiss. Like they're really... I don't know how to do it.
I don't think you do describe it as a bitey kiss.
They were eating each other for a while. Like they were properly going with like mouths opening and closing.
They were trying to consume each other.
It's like
through...
there was an apple between them and they were both having a good go at swallowing it. Some things can't be put into words.
Okay, well, I'll put some things into words for you. When Will's in the stocks, the extras in that scene are so half-hearted.
No.
There's just a lot of shots of him being like, really live like, boo.
London.
I was just like, huh.
Love that.
What? This I just wouldn't have shown those shots. I just wouldn't have done a zoom in on
shots.
people being like, whatever. He's in
Well, I enjoyed. Some London stuff. The tournament grounds were amazing. A lot of the tournament grounds were really good, but I particularly enjoyed the set for the final joust. I thought that looked great. London Bridge with buildings on it is something I've read a lot about, and it's just such a glorious concept.
And again, a real brief shot of it.
Yeah.
But it just made me go, oh yeah, wow, that's gonna burn down at some point.
It's famously gonna burn down.
Gonna burn down, but at the same time, I got so distracted just by the thought of it, because I was like, who would build a house on a bridge nowadays? What?
Apparently, at its worst, it would take half an hour to walk from one side of London Bridge to the other, just because it was so fucking hard to actually walk across this, because there would be markets and houses and just all this stuff going on. Also in London, I think my last one is him and the little girl. It was very cute. It's very sweet when he's just telling her about.
And my last one is Tudyk's last line to Will, which is it was inexcusably not in the IMDb quote section, so I had to go back and rewatch the scene to write it down verbatim, because I just was like, that wonderful line.
Yeah.
And it's when everyone's chanting his name, and Tudyk looks up at him and goes,
That's your name, Will. Sir William Thatcher. Your father heard that.
I was like, amazing. What a great... And that spurs him on to take off Cook Knight from his horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's all that just sports movie power fantasy stuff is just exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Now,
yeah.
You know what time it is, Paul?
Time for...
West Wing Walk-Ons.
Oh, no!
West Wing Walk-Ons. West Wing Walk-Ons. West Wing Walk-Ons.
What have you got for me?
Inexplicably, no one.
No!
I was so sure. Alan Tudyk had to have been in the West Wing. Rufus Sewell had to have been in the West Wing. No, I was bewildered. But while looking at people's IMDb's, I do have 2 credits of note that I wanted to point out. Jocelyn played Lorna in Over the Garden Wall.
Oh, that's really good.
Auntie Whisper's niece, and it was I've never seen Jocelyn in anything before this, and so now I'm like, oh great, now I know another person from Over the Garden Wall. And Kate played Lydia in Breaking Bad.
Yes, she did. I looked this up because she was really familiar, and I didn't get to the bottom of why she was so familiar, because I'm sure I'm not recognizing her as Kate from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I don't think that looking at Kate in Knight's Tale and Lydia in Breaking Bad, I'm like, are they the same person? That's wild.
It really doesn't feel like there's 10 years of difference there. Good Lord. Oh, okay. Well, good stuff. Good stuff for West Wing Walk-Ons. Let's check in with the OG team. We have Jen Blundell from the OG team, who...
Oh, it's almost like somebody messaged her and said, hey Jen, do you want to do... You love this film a lot. Do you want to send in an OG team?
I knew that she would absolutely never message me under any other circumstances. She says, Paul, my OGT about A Knight's Tale... That's not... Fine, she doesn't listen. Is Heath Ledger. He was my super teen crush. I wore a black ribbon for a day after he died. I also had a thing for Paul Bettany at the time. Aside from all the hot man eye candy, I remember the film being funny and cute. And also, is there a scene where Heath is in a jail set and is having a tete-a-tete with the hot bad guy? I don't think so.
Yes, there is.
There?
He gets put in the stocks before he's in the jail cell, and he's got the big wooden stock
Oh,
over his
that's
shoulders.
right, yes. Yes, they do a gladiator scene, because I remember thinking, hit him with the stick.
Yeah, because Rufus Sewell just starts beating the shit out of him. And like, you petty little cook.
Oh, you little big cook energy. Anyway, all very hot, especially for a basic teen like me. Love that.
Yeah.
Yes, very hot man energy in this, if nothing else compels you. to see this thing, then, well, let it be that Baroness Bejo is also in it. Anyway, let's check in with the OG team. Nothing on Twitter, nothing on Facebook. That just leaves, nothing on Blue Sky, so that just leaves Patreon. No, je n'ai Patreon. No, je n'ai Patreon. No! Okay, that's it for the OG team.
And some would say that Jen is more than enough.
Jen is all we need these days. I don't mean that genuinely. Anyway, what's the one better thing? The one better thing.
So I struggled with this a lot because I would say that A Knight's Tale is kind of singular.
It is.
You could go for a sports.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about the angle of thinking about a sports film.
Yeah.
And normally I do a format of this where I pick a different film by the director,
right,
and then a film but I didn't know that much of the director's work. I've only seen 42 on a plane in 2013, and I can't say I remember much. I didn't even remember that Chadwick Boseman was in it.
Shit. So
I can't, in good conscience, recommend 42
sure.
because I don't remember watching 42. But so for one better thing, I'm instead just going to do a lateral move from Heath Ledger and say 10 Things I Hate About You.
Love that.
It's a very good adaptation of that Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
What was it? Taming of the Shrew?
Yeah.
No.
10 Things I Hate About You. Is it not? I think it is The Taming of the Shrew. Oh god, Katie would know this.
But anyway, it's a very good high school film that maybe also I haven't seen in a while, so maybe it doesn't hold up. But at the same time, it's Heath Ledger, and I think little Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it as well.
It is The Taming of the Shrew.
Great.
Good stuff. Love that. Amazing. My one is actually quite a convenient recent watch for me because this is a medieval movie shot in Czechia. And I have a 1964 Czech film called A Jester's Tale that I literally watched this month. So, very convenient. It's directed by Karel Zeman. Did I say it's called A Jester's Tale? I'm so sick.
Yes.
Good. I'm so fucking out of my head right now. Yes, Karel Zeman's A Jester's Tale. It's a really stunningly beautiful film that combines animation and live action stuff in order to imply a sort of medieval style of like like a sort of, just a medieval style of painting with, incredible sort of sets that implies. But it's also just a really amusing and engaging sort of shaggy dog story about a sort of guy who ends up being embroiled into the 30 Years' War and has sort of bizarre adventures as a result. It's very funny, it's very beautiful, and just offers something of not a realistic view of medieval life, but nevertheless a sort of fantastical medieval fantasia, which I think is really worth seeing. So, A Jester's Tale.
Lovely.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for the one better thing. The one better thing. So how can people find out about other stuff that you're involved in?
Oh, well, I am on the Actual Play podcast's Quest Fantastic and Roll Plus Hard, which you can find in your podcaster of choice. Roll Plus Hard is currently on its annual January hiatus, but we'll be back in February with a long campaign of Monster of the Week set in a queer summer camp. So if that sounds good to you, and you want to hear some lovely queer stories, then you should check out Roll Plus Heart. And you probably know about Quest Fantastic because our dear sweet Pauls are both part of it.
I'm in it, I'm on it, I'm all over it.
And I'm at Penguin Panic on Instagram, but honestly, all social media is dying. What's
it's
the
going.
point?
It's finally gone. We've finally gotten sick of it. We'll all just be AI generating content for ourselves. And isn't that the real victory that we've achieved over human endeavor? Finally, we can have art without the artists. That's what we've all been working towards. But if you do want some pesky human beings involved in this content that's being created, then you can look into OGT Pod. Right here, damn it. Open up your phone. You're listening to it. It's there. Just do it more. But you can also type OGT Pod into most of the social media apps, which I will occasionally put stuff on when I remember. I'm Paul Member.
And I'm Whatever I said at the beginning, Dame Sarah the Unflappable, it wasn't that.
It was something to do with being unimpressed, uninfused.
Well, couldn't feel more different after this wonderful podcast experience.
Yay! That's the magic of A Knight's Tale. And remember, the one good thing about A Knight's Tale is hot man energy and Beverly's baby.